Let's go to a new topic, text-to-speech software. This is an application view of how you can use what you have learned like C++ or any other language, and how you can build a small software so that if you build a software, then it's more interesting to learn rather than to just learn the coding stuff. So in this software will basically read the text and spit it out as a speech. This I have used C++ and Visual Basic. I will show you both how you can do both of these. This concept has been implemented with a concept called component object model, which is like a plugin sort of thing, like which you use in your everyday Windows applications. So this is an independent plugin. Basically, you can develop a COM object and just distribute to different people, and they can just install in their application. That's how it works. Let's go to the video. So component object model. What is a component object model? COM object is a platform independent software component that can interact. So that's the definition. Basically, what you can do is, we have learned before how you can create C++ classes with public interfaces like public functions. So these public functions act as public interfaces, which can be called outside the class. So if you imagine the whole class as a COM object, or the whole class doing a specific actions, you pack everything what the software has to do in a class, and you pack it as a COM object, and you can just distribute it to different people. So that's what a COM object is. And COM object communicates through IPC, interprocess communication. So you can have one COM object on your PC and another distributed to a different PC or in a different process in the same computer. So two different applications on your computer can talk with each other through COM objects. So this is possible, or two different applications can talk with each other over remote computers. So this is also possible in COM objects. And this is a software package which can be developed by different vendors and distributed. And COM object has interfaces which are functions starting with I. So we learned before, we have C++ public interfaces, and these are denoted with starting with I in case of COM object when you're building a COM object. So and COM object has a unique identifier. This is managed by Microsoft or generated by the system. It could be, a COM object can be a set of DLLs or exe files, and as I told, it is basically packaging a whole software and making it redistributable. That is what a COM object is. So why I am explaining COM object in this is like the speech to text to speech software, which I'm going to explain now, is based on the COM object. We'll use a COM object called sapi.dll for achieving the task of reading the text and making into a speech. So the speech application programming interface, SAPI, if you Google around, you will find out this application. So what it does is, it's an application interface provided by Microsoft for developing text-to-speech applications. Some of the things which you see in your Microsoft Windows, basically when you type in and read out, when you in Microsoft Word or something, when you mark a text and then right click and read out, this is basically done by this interface in Windows, and they have given this as a package, as a DLL, which you can integrate into your application. So this is the API, application programming interface, developed by Microsoft, and this is used for speech recognition, speech synthesis within Windows application. And there are different versions like SAPI 1 to 4 were the previous ones, and now you have SAPI 5, which has a family of 5.0, 5.1, 5.2 and 5.3. Windows 10 has a family of 5, which is the SAPI 5, sapi.dll. DLL stands for Dynamic Link Library. You can develop your own speech to text to speech application with this DLL. So any text processing and converting it into a WAV file you can do with this application. You can achieve this with C++ or C# or Visual Basic. Visual Basic is most easiest one if you are doing a Windows application, but it's also possible with C++. C++ is a bit tougher compared to Visual Basic, but still it's still possible. So now going into the code, I'll just explain a brief about this simple code. It's not a robust code, it's just to explain a demo, like to say how things work, because there are not much fail conditions which I am checking here. So we have learned some C++ before in this channel, but this is an application which basically demonstrates how you can develop software with C++, which you can basically run and see what happens actively. So if you see, we have included a header file called sapi.h. So as I said before, when you want to like create an application, pack it up and give it to someone. And when you give it to someone, normally you also give a public interface. That is a package. You have a software which is closed, a dynamic link library or on something else. And how will the external application call? They use the header file like this, sapi.h. This will have all the public interfaces. For example, in the class we learned we have public interfaces, and that is the public functions. So these public functions are defined in the sapi.h. Only the definitions will be there. Implementations will be in the private, or it will be hidden from the user. So with that public interface or public functions, the user can basically call that specific functions. So you have something called ISP voice, which is an interface. As I said, COM object have always an interface with I, and SP voice, you create a variable called pointer to voice and set it to null. And co-initialize is basically called to initialize the COM object. So by calling co-initialize, I'm initializing the COM object to be to make it usable in this software. And co-create instance basically creates an instance of that object. How it does is like it initializes the single object with that specific class ID. So you see the class ID is class ID SP voice, which is unique for this COM object, and it creates an object of it. It creates an object which we can use in our program. So and it returns a handle to the object. So H result has a handle. It returns H result, not handle. H result is a sort of a feedback if the object is successfully created or not, which we are checking here. So if it is succeeded, then we use it. If it's failed, then we don't use it. So once it's created, we have an object. So p voice, as you see, is here. Void pointer will have an address to that object. So once it's there, then I can call that object's function, which is the speak. So the speak is basically the function, the public interface which we are using. So it just calls and you put the text inside with a set of parameters. These I'll go in detail later. And then once it's done, you will hear the voice, and then you release that that pointer and set it to null. And then co-uninitialize basically unloads the COM object. So this is the whole procedure. Just high level, just understand these 4 simple steps, and also learn or do your own research on this. Then we will go. If you have questions, you can post on it. Now we will run this application and see how it basically works. So let's get into the program now. So you see I have posted the application here. You have the sapi.h, which is the header file of the COM object sapi, which basically converts the text to speech, and it loads this application. You can just copy paste into a console application in Visual Studio and just run it. So the speak function is called. The co-create instance basically creates an object, and with that you have the p voice. From p voice you access the speak function and put the text, and it basically runs the application. So when you run it, then you will hear the voice. So I'm now running the software, and you will hear the voice how it works.
Tamil Nadu is a great place to live peacefully. Visit Tamil Nadu.
So that's how the voice is read out from the text. So it's so simple with the COM object concept. The dynamic library is provided by Microsoft, so you can just use it in your application and also convert your text into speech. There are also options for different voice selection, but that I will do it in Visual Basic. That there it's more simpler. I will explain it in more detail. So I have set a breakpoint, and I will show how you can basically step through into the application here. So I have stopped at speak function, and then when I now go over it, it will read out the voice, and then once the voice is read out, then I release that pointer p voice. Once the pointer is released, I set it to null. That is basically making the pointer completely free and reinitializing it. And co uninitialize basically unloads the COM object. So this is how it works. So on all these pvoice, isp notify, iunknown, ef pointer are all concepts of COM object, which I'll explain a bit later. But you do now understand how you can develop a small C++ application which can be used for some purpose, even for basically converting text into speech. Hope this has helped you in getting an overview of how C++ is powerful and how it can be used in different applications. So if you have any questions, please do post and comment so that I know how it has reached you. Hope it has helped you. So we learned today a small C++ application, how you can convert text to speech, and also about some basics about COM objects. Hope you liked it and learned something from it. So please share, like, and subscribe, and also comment so that I know if it has reached you. And if you have any questions, please do post. Thanks.